Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel. My name is Paul, the Canadian Snowman, back once again with another awesome video. We're doing the Ottoman Mamluk War. I'm really not quite sure what this is, unless they mentioned it in the previous video, and I just totally forgot. If they did, I apologize about this, because you know how I am. But or 15, 16, 15, 17. I believe the previous video we did, the Ottomans was the brothers, which is pretty insane. Like that was like insane. Like like talk about killing your brother to a whole nother level. I think the Ottomans can't be beat when it comes to terms of that. Uh, so yeah, unless you guys can let me know in the comments somebody outbeating them, but like that was just insane and pretty crazy, and pretty entertaining to be honest. So thank you, Ottomans, for the entertainment. And we're going to continue the entertainment with whatever the Mamluk War is. I believe before we did the brother thing, I think they were in the East, right? And they just won a war in the East. I forget what the dude's name is. But yeah, they just won a war in the East, and I think, oh man, I'm probably so wrong on all of this. But we're going to find out real quick. I'm sure they're going to do like, do like a quick, review of previous episode kind of thing, just like how they do in regular TV shows, like previously on so and so. So I really hope they do that. But anyways, I think I'm talking too fast, too much sugar. But anyways, what am I doing? Oh yeah, I'm gonna push play, right? Yeah, hit the like and subscribe button, and let's do it, guys. Man. Kings and Generals is awesome.
In our previous episode on Ottoman history, we covered their first war against the Safavids and the Battle of Chaldiran. Although the Ottomans were mainly concerned with European expansion in the first 2 centuries of their history, Chaldiran opened a new avenue for their conquests. The Ottomans were now on a collision course with the Mamluk Sultanate of Egypt, the war between the two would change the situation in the Middle East for the next few centuries. But before we continue, allow us to thank our sponsor, Wix. Wix is everything you need to create a beautiful personalized site with solution facts about historical events that we're covering and
There we go.
Sultan Selim I won against the Safavid Shah Ismail I at the Battle of Chaldiran in 1514,
That's right,
and even occupied the capital of the Safavids, Tabriz. But soon he was forced to leave the city due to the food situation and to avoid mutiny among his soldiers. Still, the Ottomans were able to annex most of eastern Anatolia and parts of northern Iran and the Caucasus due to this war. The eastern borders of the Ottoman Empire were relatively secure for decades, but new challenges in the region forced Selim to strengthen the frontier. The Ramazanids and Dulkadir were 2 Turkic beyliks which were left somewhat independent as a buffer between the Ottomans and the Mamluk Sultanate of Egypt.
Interesting.
In the summer of 1515, Selim ended this independence, thus completing the conquest of Anatolia. War with the Mamluks was now inevitable.
Mamluks. Okay.
But who were the Mamluks?
I don't know.
In the 9th century, the Abbasid Caliphate started the practice of enslaving young boys, mostly from the Turkic tribes, but also from among the Circassians and the Orthodox Christians. These slaves received military training, but also learned tactics, religion, languages, and sciences. They were then...
The Romans did that at some point, right? I mean, they took, like, some youngsters, some slaves from, like barbarian tribes or whatnot, and then they kind of raised them as their own, I guess, to use as, reassurance that the tribes, whatever, wouldn't attack them. So they had these, these slaves, but I guess they were slaves, but they were brought up to learn, like, the Roman way, kind of fight for Rome. I don't know. Maybe you guys know what I'm talking about here. So I guess this isn't unheard of, so I think so.
So learned tactics, religion, languages, and sciences. They were then freed and served as the guards for Muslim sultans.
Oh, wow.
The Mamluks often gained influence and came to power, founding ruling dynasties in Central Asia, Mesopotamia, and India. By 1260, the Turkic Mamluks of the Egyptian Ayyubid Sultanate managed to...
The Mamluks, like, they must not have, like, I'll just continue on. Like, they haven't served, they have not, could not have been, like, too big of a people, right? Because I haven't heard of them. But then again, I live, you know, in the West where, you know, we're kind of cut off from everything out East kind of thing. But anyways, very curious about this.
1260, the Turkic Mamluks of the Egyptian Ayyubid Sultanate managed to wrestle power away from them and established their Bari dynasty. Between 1260 and 1323, the Mamluks stopped attacks from the European Crusaders and Mongol Ilkhanate, most famously during the Battle of Ain Jalut, and consolidated their rule over Egypt and Syria. Even though Armenian Cilicia...
Just the Mamluks, I guess, because they, you know, then they can't be called the Egyptians because, you know, it's a bigger area, taking up many countries and areas. Just kind of people, right? I really don't want to get in trouble here because I really don't know. Like, is that like a religion? It's like a religion, you know, that just happens to take over a bunch of different areas. Like, kind of get confused what the Mamluks are, you know, or is the Egypt just not Egypt right now? It's all a different country right now. I don't know. I don't know what we're trying to say here, you know.
Their rule over Egypt and Syria. Even though Armenian Cilicia fell to them by 1375, the Turkic sultans were losing their influence over their Mamluk brethren, and in 1382 they were toppled by the Circassian Burji dynasty. Over the following decades, this new dynasty strengthened its positions in Anatolia by bringing the Ramazanids and Dulkadir into their sphere of influence. Despite rivalry over the spice trade and religious problems stemming from the fact that the Mamluks kept the Abbasid caliphs as hostages, the Ottomans and the Mamluks were neutral through the 14th and 15th centuries, only fighting in a border conflict between 1485 and 1491. This short war ended in a stalemate and the sides signed a peace treaty. However, this peace didn't last long, as the rise of the Safavids and Shi'ism would change the balance of power in the region. The Mamluks hoped that the Safavids and Ottomans would weaken each other, so when the Shah Ismail I sent envoys to the European states to ask for an anti-Ottoman alliance in the early 1500s, the Mamluks allowed them to pass. The Ottomans knew about it and pressured the Mamluks not to allow the envoys to return to Ismail.
Wow. So since the Mamluks, you know, let this like let this message go through, the Ottomans are like, okay, we see how it is. Like, you know, you're not going to get away with that. You're not going to do that to us and expect us to turn a blind eye. Like, you know, we're going to remember this. And then the Ottomans are like, yeah, they're going to wait. They wait to the right timing. And then I guess now they're going to pounce on, like, you know, I thought we were, you know, neutral together, but, you know, now you're my enemy.
As the Safavids had decisively lost the Battle of Chaldiran in 1514, and the Ramazanids and Dulkadir were occupied, it was becoming clear to the Mamluk Sultan, Algari, that his realm would be attacked by the Ottomans next, so he accepted an offer of alliance from Ismail I in 1516. Algari marched to Syria, leaving his vizier Tumen Bey in Cairo. The Ottoman-Mamluk War had started.
Here we go.
Unfortunately for the Mamluk Sultan, the Ottomans were at peace with all their European neighbours, and Ismail didn't have enough of a force to threaten them. So,
oh wow, so yeah, he's just bad timing now, man. You're gonna get the full force of the Ottomans. Yeah, you're hoping he'd have like half his army, you know, distracted off in the west, but man, I feel like the Ottomans are just gonna come crush him, but I don't know.
Selim was able to assemble all of his troops against them. In April, the Ottoman leader sent his vizier Sinan Pasha with the vanguard to capture the crucial passes through the Taurus Mountains, but the cavalry-heavy army of Algari was faster and took control of the passages.
Wow.
Sinan Pasha was forced to wait for Selim, who arrived in Konya in July. The Ottoman Sultan wasn't eager to fight in a narrow passage. At this point, the Ottoman sources diverge from the Arab and Persian sources, as they claim that Ismail managed to send an army to help the Mamluks, but this army was defeated by the Ottomans somewhere in eastern Anatolia. In any case, Selim I decided to bypass the Taurus Mountains and moved to Malatya. At the same time, Algari, understanding that he might be outflanked, retreated from his position to Aleppo. Selim was now marching to the south, and although the Mamluks attempted to make peace, the Ottomans ignored it and even killed the Mamluk envoys, as reported by the Arab sources.
Wow. I mean, the Mamluks, they shot themselves in the foot when they didn't want to try and keep the peace with the Ottomans earlier. And as soon as that message went by, the Ottomans seen him as an enemy, and like now that you want peace. Yeah, it's like, I have no love lost for you guys. I mean, you had it coming to you, so don't feel bad.
The sources are also conflicted about the number of troops. The Mamluks had anywhere from 20 to 50,000 soldiers, while Selim had between 30 and 60,000.
Wow.
The Mamluks had a limited amount of gunpowder weapons and no artillery, but their heavy horsemen were of the highest quality and were undefeated in the field.
Oh, damn.
The sides met at a place called Marj Dabiq on the 24th of August.
Hold on a second. Oh. I better skip this. They're fighting like a desert? Like, for real? Man, this is insane. Like, I guess there's like nowhere to hide. Like, you're not hiding your arm. I guess you could hide behind like some sand dunes, right? Man, that's a lot of people.
There are multiple descriptions of the battle, but we will present just one of them. The Mamluk Sultan placed his cavalry in a reversed crescent with infantry in the second line. He was in the center, with the governor of Damascus to his right and the governor of Aleppo to his left. Meanwhile, the Ottomans placed their cavalry on the flanks, with the light cannons on the right side of the second line, the Sultan and his guard in the center, and the Janissaries armed with gunpowder weapons on the left. Their cannons were placed on wagons in the rear.
Okay. I was wondering what that was.
Algari's army was in a more mobile formation, and they used that early in the battle, starting their attack in a crescent.
Well, I guess because it's in the desert, right? They have to be on wagons because, they're so heavy that if you tried to push them, like on grass or whatnot, you could easily probably, have a group push the cannons into place. Excuse me, but like all you see in the sand, you just sink and get stuck. So it definitely makes sense the heavier ones are in wagons for more, you can move around. Cool. Interesting. Never really seen a war in the desert, so.
And they used that early in the battle, starting their attack in a crescent and shifting their left flank forward. This worked, as the Ottoman cavalry on the right side was forced to flee after the charge of the heavy Mamluk cavalry, while the left slowly retreated under the combined pressure of the Mamluk right and center. The Mamluk left continued its assault, but was greeted by a volley from the light Ottoman cannons on the right and moved back. The Mamluks shifted their line again and pushed the Ottoman center. The details are unclear, but it seems that Selim took direct command and achieved an orderly retreat behind the wagons.
Oh, damn.
The Ottoman heavy cannons opened fire upon the enemy, and the Mamluk center was shocked and had to retreat. While this was
it definitely looked like that was definitely planned. Like, get these guys, get close enough, retreat, and so that your big, cannons go to work where you're not losing as much men. Like, I'm honestly like, I'm so these guys gonna start retreating like towards the cannons and then pick the rest of these guys off. Looks that way, right?
Was happening, the Mamluk right finally forced the Ottoman cavalry back, but was met by the Janissary guns. Algari then ordered his left to swing back and charge the Ottomans from the right and rear, but this order was ignored.
What?
The sources are inconsistent, but it seems that the governor of Aleppo either betrayed his sultan or was sure that the battle was lost. He left the battlefield, taking the infantry with him. The Ottoman cavalry used the disarray of the Mamluk army. Most of it was surrounded and killed, along with Algari. The number of
Oh my god, these wars, they drive me crazy with, like, the traitors, man. The guy just left. Had to have made a deal. I mean, I guess there's so many different, they said that this battle, in those different ways, they had different outcomes, like different outcomes, but different, ways this battle was fought, and they just picked one of the ways. But man, like I think I think the Mamluks would have lost anyway, personally. But that Sultan just got ditched. Like maybe it's like he got bribed to do it. Maybe he wants all the power to himself and take it over. I don't know, but there's always got to be something like politics wise behind the scenes of why he would do that. He just didn't do it because, I don't know, for something simple. I wouldn't think so anyway. But anyways, wow. Ottoman's kicking butt.
Most of it was surrounded and killed, along with Algari. The number of losses is unclear, but the Ottoman casualties were at least 10,000, while the Mamluk heavy cavalry elite was gone.
Damn. The heavy cavalry elite was gone. I guess it kind of goes to show you're kind of like transitioning between different time periods here. The Mamluk, they're kind of doing more like old school style, and then you have the Ottomans who got the gunpowder and the cannons and stuff. The Mamluks, they're just outclassed. They just they just didn't have the weapons to do it. Like they would have been like better off to kind of sit back and let the Ottomans come towards them, where the cannons like weren't a thing, where they didn't have that advantage with firepower. But they pretty much brought the fight to the Ottomans, which was probably the not the smartest thing to do. They probably should have did more like guerrilla warfare kind of thing. But oh well, right?
Selim's conquest of Syria was easy, as the majority of the Mamluk garrisons were defeated at Marj Dabiq. Still, he needed time to secure his position, procure supplies, and allow his navy to join the army in Syria. So he sent his vizier Sinan Pasha in command of the vanguard to occupy the crucial coastal castles. Meanwhile in Cairo, Tumen Bey became the Sultan and started recruiting a new army. He rejected the offer to become an Ottoman vassal, and the envoys were killed. Tumen Bey knew that the fortresses were of utmost importance if he wanted to keep the Ottomans at bay, so he sent his vanguard to the region. Once again, the numbers are debated, but the two vanguards encountered each other at a place called Khan Yunis in late October.
Vanguard?
The battle started with volleys from the Ottoman artillery. Mamluk General al-Ghazali knew that his cavalry would not be able to withstand the Ottoman gunpowder weapons for long, so he ordered a charge. However, this was just a feint, and after the initial clash, the Mamluks started retreating towards the valley to the south. The Ottoman horsemen followed them, and the two cavalry units fought each other in the valley for some time, as the elite Mamluk knights died in Marj Dabiq, and the new recruits were still inexperienced. The battle was in balance.
See, this is what they should have done the very first battle. They take the cannons completely out of it, and it's a lot more even fight. But now that you don't have the more experienced guys, you have less people. It doesn't obviously it's not looking very well for them.
And the new recruits were still inexperienced. The battle was in balance when the Ottoman gunpowder units finally arrived. They shot at the flanks of the Mamluk army, and the fight was soon over. The Mamluks lost up to 5,000, while the Ottoman casualties were light. After this defeat, the remaining Mamluk forces were concentrated near Cairo. At the same time, the Ottoman navy finally arrived, and Selim started his march towards Egypt. The journey through the Sinai Desert was difficult, but the navy supplied the Ottoman army, and in January of 1517 it entered Egypt. On the 22nd of January, Tumen Bey clashed with Selim at a place called Radanieh, on the outskirts of Cairo. The Mamluks recently bought 300 cannons from the Venetians, and they were placed in the moats. Meanwhile, the Ottomans had placed their artillery on the hills behind their positions. The artillery duel was short and ended with an Ottoman victory, as the Mamluks didn't have enough experience to operate their new weapons.
Obviously, I mean, you got these guys, I mean, the Ottomans are on the hillside, and you got Mamluks like in a swamp or something. And obviously, they're going to be able, Ottomans are easily going to be able to reach them because they have, that you're shooting down so that, you know, they can shoot from a farther distance. And the inexperience definitely comes into play. Then they just thought, oh, ooh, we got cannons now. Like, oh, like we're totally going to dominate now. And yeah, no. You got to practice with those things, guys.
Weapons. The Ottomans then sent volleys against the Mamluk cavalry, which charged to take the hill and the artillery.
That's not going to work.
However, this charge was stopped by volleys from the Janissaries. At this point, Selim implemented a flanking maneuver, which surprised the Mamluks. Their army was dispersed and left the field.
These guys don't seem like they've fought a battle before. They learned their lesson, man, because they're just getting wiped out. I mean, I guess, you know, desperate times kind of, you know, desperate measures, but man, they're just getting their butts kicked every battle here. And I mean, I guess props to them. They're not giving in. They're fighting for their country, their homeland, or whatever, their territory, whatever you want to call it. And they're not willing to give in and give up and be a vassal. So, you know, props to them for digging their heels in. But yeah, I guess at some point you gotta say, okay, like we can't win. But yeah, they're going. I guess they're going down with the ship. So props to them for that. They're definitely brave people.
Surprised the Mamluks. Their army was dispersed and left the field. The Ottoman vanguard took Cairo without any resistance, but it was a trap. And on the 26th, Tumen Bey's forces entered the city and destroyed the vanguard in a quick battle. The Ottoman Sultan learned about this on the 27th and sent his Janissaries to retake the city. The local population joined Tumen Bey. The fighting in the city...
So, like... Sorry. Like, no one decided to, like, close the gates or something? Like, was it just wide open? Was the gate destroyed? I mean, there's a wall around here for a reason, you know, but I guess they, you know, they didn't have enough to kind of control the city, so the people are just like, let them in. Interesting.
The local population joined Tumen Bey. The fighting in the city continued until the 3rd of February, when the Ottomans finally regained control.
Damn.
It is said that tens of thousands of Cairo's citizens were killed, among them most of the Mamluk nobility. Tumen Bey continued his resistance for a few more months, but was captured and executed in March. The conquest of Syria and Egypt was finalized. In the span of 3 years, Selim I doubled the territory of the Ottoman Empire. The East was pacified, and the Ottomans were looking towards Europe once again.
Wow.
Thank you for watching another episode in our series on the Ottoman Wars. New videos in this series are on the way.
The Mamluk War, man. It didn't seem like much of a war. Like, you know, the Mamluks, you know, they put up a fight, but man, Ottomans just on a different level, and man, they just came through and just crushed them. Wow. That's pretty crazy, man. And the Ottomans, I mean, they got a good spot there because they have, you know, the water there, so it's not like they're far away. You know, it seems like they're very far from their capital and everything, but really, you know, you just take a boat across that sea there, and you're all good. They're not really that far away. But anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts about this. I thought it was pretty cool, pretty interesting, and pretty exciting. I always get frustrated when, like, so I'm not. These battles, I kind of root for a cool battle and stuff like that. It gets frustrating when, like, I guess when certain side doesn't learn from the previous. I guess they did learn. Like, the second time they pulled back and whatnot, it was just too late. But I don't know. It's just frustrating that first battle, and they're like, they just drove their army into the the cannons, and I was like, no, why are you doing that? I think I watched too many of these war videos. But anyways, guys, yeah, hit the like and subscribe buttons below. Let me know your thoughts below. Love this stuff. Catch you guys in future videos. You guys have a great night, great day, and I am out of here. Peace.